Today's lesson is giving your time to volunteering. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And my name is Helen.
And today we're going to talk about something called volunteering, which means you work without pay. Now, Helen, have you ever done any volunteering before?
Yes, I have actually. The first time I did volunteer work was when I was a teenager. I volunteered at a local hospital. I basically went around and offered patients magazines and games that they could play with. So that was called being a candy striper, a type of volunteer work. So I did that type of volunteering.
Yeah, when I was in college, I think I helped distribute information pamphlets and things like that. And I also got signatures for some kind of referendum in an election. I was downtown Iowa City getting people to sign this form for that project that was going on. So yes, there are various ways to volunteer, and the whole concept of doing this is called volunteering. This is especially useful for people who have retired and they need something to do. You just can't sit around all day with nothing to do since your kids are all grown up and the grandkids are probably staying someplace else. So yeah, volunteering is a good way to make yourself feel useful in society. So let's talk about this today. Let's get into it. Let's listen to the first part and then we'll talk about it.
Giving your time to volunteering. It's a well-known fact that volunteering brings positive changes to communities. But did you know that volunteers themselves can benefit from it too? As research has shown, people who donate their time to help others can experience a significant boost in their own mental and physical health.
大家好，标题中我们看到单字 volunteer， 这个字是动词，指自愿做或是担任志工。例如 Victor volunteered to answer the teacher's question. Victor 自愿回答老师的问题。或是 Amber volunteered at an animal shelter in her spare time. Amber 在空闲时间到动物收容所当志工。另外，除了上面的意思，这个字还有以下两种用法。第一，这个字可以当名词，指志工或是自告奋勇者。举例来说， Dan is a hospital volunteer who works in the emergency room. Dan 是个在急诊室工作的医院志工。第二，这个字还可以当形容词，指与志工相关的或是自愿参加的。我们可以说 Mindy received an award for her volunteer work with children. Mindy 因为从事儿童服务志工工作获得颁奖。或是 Brad is a volunteer fireman. Brad 是一名消防义工。
And welcome back. So today we're talking about volunteering, giving your time to volunteering. So the word here in this title, volunteering, is the gerund form of the verb to volunteer, which is the act of working without getting paid. And someone who does that is also called a volunteer. So volunteer is a verb and a noun, and volunteering is the gerund. So let's look at what this article says about volunteering. It says here, it's a well-known fact that volunteering brings positive changes to communities. So we all know that if people volunteer, then the local communities benefit because people are helping out without expecting any monetary gains in return. All they want to do is help, and they want to improve the local communities.
Right, so there are lots of things that local communities need that other people don't have time to do, or the local government doesn't have the money to pay people to do things. So if you volunteer, that can definitely help out society. And in the next sentence it says, but did you know that volunteers themselves can benefit from it too? So here we've got the noun volunteer. A person who volunteers is called a volunteer. And of course, we can talk about the benefits to society, but if you are a volunteer, it can benefit you as well, even though you're not getting paid for it.
That's right. So as a volunteer, you can also gain a lot from this experience. As research has shown, people who donate their time to help others can experience a significant boost in their own mental and physical health. In other words, there have been studies that have shown that people who give their time to helping others, who don't expect any money or any kind of recognition or fame in return, can also gain benefits to their physical health and their mental health. So they might feel happier, they might get sick less easily because they do volunteer work.
Yes, and I've got a personal example of this, not just some research. My father has been doing volunteer work for many, many years, and he is still living happily and healthy at the ripe old age of 92. Actually, he's 93 now. And so, yes, indeed, I think a lot of that has to do with him volunteering for many, many years, helping people with their taxes, delivering library books. He used to read mail to some blind people and stuff like that. Those are some ways that you can volunteer. And yes, we've got some research that tells us that, hey, volunteering can provide a boost, a little bit of help in your mental health and your physical health. And yes, Helen, at the beginning of the program, you said you did some volunteer work. That probably was very beneficial to you as well.
Well, unfortunately, I was too young to understand. I did it because everybody else was doing it. So I was really doing it as an educational experience, but I didn't understand that it had benefits, mental and physical health. But I think the older you get, the more you realize how good it feels to help others. I was a little bit too young back then, unfortunately.
Yeah, of course, when you're young, you want to get paid for working. You need to, build your career and start saving for a rainy day and things like that. But if you're retired and those aren't such big issues anymore, volunteering may be a good way to feel useful in society. And that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now and talk about some other benefits to volunteering.
There are several reasons why volunteering is good for our mental state. By volunteering, we forge connections with others, and this sense of connectedness helps keep loneliness and depression at bay. In one British study, which took place over an 18-year period, participants who had volunteered the preceding year consistently reported feeling more satisfied with their lives compared to those who had not volunteered. According to another study, the feelings of pleasure and satisfaction we get from helping others tend to last longer than those same feelings do when they are derived from activities such as shopping or dining out.
第二部分我们看到动词 forge 指缔造、建立或是锻造、伪造。例如 Tammy quickly forged new friendships when she started college. Tammy 展开大学生活时，很快就建立起了新友谊了。或是 The painter forged a Picasso and tried to sell it. 那名画家伪造毕卡索的画作，还试图卖出。再来，我们看到片语 keep, hold something or somebody at bay, 表示使某人事物远离，阻止某人事物接近。例如 Marianne eats fruit to keep hunger at bay in the afternoons. Marianne 在下午吃水果，以免肚子饿。或是 A large concrete wall around the property helped keep thieves at bay. 环绕这处房产的一大面混凝土墙，有助于防止窃贼入侵。再举一个例子 A lockdown was imposed to try and hold the virus at bay. 为了试图遏制这个病毒侵袭而强制实施了封城。另外补充一个包含 bay 的相关片语Bring somebody or something to bay, 表示把点点点逼上绝路或是围困。我们可以说 The hunting dogs brought the bear to bay. 猎狗把那只熊围困起来。接着我们看到形容词 preceding, 指先前的或是前面的，像是 This novel is much better than the preceding installments in the series. 这部小说比系列中前几部好多了。 或是 Details of the hero's life are discussed in the preceding chapters. 这名英雄生平的详述在前面几章中有讨论到。
So let's look at why volunteering is beneficial to us, why it helps our mental and physical states. It says here there are several reasons why volunteering is good for our mental state. By volunteering, we forge connections with others. So first of all, when we volunteer, we build relationships with other people. To forge means to develop a good relationship with other people. So in this sense, when we volunteer, we are building connections, we are helping people, and we are maybe making new friends with people that we would not have known if we had not volunteered.
Exactly. So, yes, as you said, forge means to establish connections or relationships with people. It also means to make steel, basically. You heat metal and then you hammer it or pour it into a mold and you create some kind of object. You are forging steel. But in this particular case, you are creating connections with other people. And then you can forge some connectedness. It helps keep loneliness and depression at bay. So here we've got kind of a long word here, connectedness. Connectedness. That's from the word connected, which means you are connected, you are in contact with each other. Like when you go online, of course, you want to be connected so that you can download things from the internet. And we're making this into a noun by adding ness at the end. Connectedness, the state of being connected.
Right. So connectedness, the state or feeling of being connected with other people is something that can occur when you volunteer because you are forging relationships with other people. Now, this sense of connectedness helps keep loneliness and depression at bay. When you keep something at bay, you are preventing something that's bad or that's unpleasant from affecting you. So I could say, for instance, I like to play the piano as a way to keep sadness at bay. In other words, when I play the piano, I can keep myself from feeling sadness and I can feel happy as long as I play music, play the piano.
Yeah, it's usually something bad like being sad. So, of course, sometimes if you're not doing anything and you don't feel involved or you don't have that connectedness with other people, then you can feel sad. And like Helen does, she plays the piano to keep loneliness and sadness at bay, to kind of reduce its severity. And in one British study, which took place over an 18-year period, participants who had volunteered the preceding year consistently reported feeling more satisfied with their lives compared to those who had not volunteered. So this is some research that was done in the UK. It's one British study, and it took place over an 18-year period, okay? So I guess they talked to people at various times for 18 years, and if you are a participant in something, you are taking part, you are involved in that activity. So if you're a participant in this particular survey, you were asked these questions. If you were a volunteer, they asked you how you felt, and if you weren't a volunteer, they asked you how you felt as well. You participated in this survey.
Right. So in this survey, participants were part of this study for 18 years. That means that people kept track of these participants over an 18-year period. And during these 18 years, the participants were asked about their experiences and how they felt. And according to this study, those people, those participants who had volunteered the preceding year, meaning the year before. So let's say they were asked a question in the year 2000, they had to report how they felt in the year 1999. So when the volunteers were asked about their activities in the preceding year, they reported that they consistently felt more satisfied with their lives compared to those who had not volunteered. So they consistently reported feeling more satisfied, meaning they felt happy continuously without this feeling changing.
Yep, so here we've got the word consistently. That's an adverb. Consistent is the adjective. That just means it stays the same over a period of time. I have a friend named Cedric who has been consistently a reliable person. I've known him a long time, and every time I need something from him, he always comes through. He's always reliable, so I can say he's been consistently a good friend for many years. And here these people just always said this. They consistently said that they were satisfied with their lives, and that was compared to those who had not volunteered. So I guess we can assume that the people who had not volunteered were not consistent in saying they were satisfied with their lives. A lot of them probably said, my life is just so sad. I don't know what to do. I don't have any friends. I have nothing to do. I don't feel involved with society. So basically, this is telling us that volunteers were more satisfied with their lives.
That's right. And according to another study, the feelings of pleasure and satisfaction we get from helping others tend to last longer than those same feelings do when they are derived from activities such as shopping or dining out. So here we are looking at another study. And in this study, the feelings of pleasure and satisfaction are compared when they are derived from one activity, which is volunteering, and another, which is the activities that we usually associate with satisfaction, like shopping, buying things you like, or dining out in a fancy restaurant. So here, the feeling of pleasure and satisfaction. Now, satisfaction is a feeling of pleasure that you get from achieving something or getting something that you want. These feelings are actually stronger and they last longer with people who volunteer than those who don't volunteer and who get those feelings from things like dining out and shopping.
Exactly. You do feel a sense of satisfaction when you help others, and you get that feeling more than what you would get if you went out shopping. I mean, you can buy chocolate or new clothes and stuff, and it can make you feel happy for maybe an hour or two. But hey, if you help an old lady cross the street, if you help somebody with their income taxes, you can feel satisfied for many days and many weeks.
Yes, and here we have a phrase to be derived from. When we were talking about feelings that are derived from activities like shopping and dining out, here to be derived from means to come from. So when A is derived from B, A comes from B. So as an example, we could say a lot of knowledge can be derived from reading books. In other words, you can get a lot of knowledge from reading books. Or I could also turn this into the active form and say, people can derive a lot of knowledge from reading books.
Or I can get a lot of health. My health is derived from regular exercise. And indeed, volunteering does give you a sense of satisfaction, more so than feelings derived from shopping or dining out or washing your car or whatever. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. It's time now to move on to the third part.
Volunteering has positive effects on our physical health too. It lowers our stress level and blood pressure, thereby promoting longevity. Several studies have even shown that volunteering can reduce physical pain in those suffering from an illness. Clearly, people who aren't volunteering already would do well to consider it.
最后第三部分，我们看到单字 longevity， 这个字是名词，意思是长寿。举例来说 ，Japan is one of the countries with the greatest average longevity。日本是平均寿命最长的国家之一。另外，除了上面的意思，这个字还可以指持久，像是 Getting regular oil changes can contribute to your car's longevity。常换机油可让车子持久耐用。
So we know now that volunteering has a lot of benefits for our mental health. But what about our physical health? What does it have to do with our bodies? Well, volunteering has positive effects on our physical health too. It lowers our stress level and blood pressure, thereby promoting longevity. So I guess it makes sense because if you feel happier about your life as a result of volunteering, then that feeling of happiness will also reduce your stress level. And if you feel less stressed, then your blood pressure will probably be lower if everything else is normal, like you have a good diet and you have no other illnesses. But if you're a naturally healthy person, then a lower stress level will also probably lead to a lower blood pressure, and that will promote longevity. Longevity is, of course, having a long life, being able to live long.
And several studies have even shown that volunteering can reduce physical pain in those suffering from an illness. And of course, a lot of us get through life without feeling much pain. I'm fortunate I don't have any chronic pain in my body. I've felt it before when I had that kidney stone or when I had those root canal treatments. That can be quite painful. But some people, of course, have chronic pain from an accident, or maybe they're suffering from some kind of disease. So it has been shown that volunteering can help reduce that pain from those people, of course, who are suffering from an illness. Could be cancer, could be heart disease, or whatever.
That's pretty powerful stuff. So volunteering really does have a lot of benefits for the mind and for the body. So clearly, people who aren't volunteering already would do well to consider it. So if you're not already a volunteer, you're not helping out your community or some institution, then you would do well to consider it. In other words, you should consider it. If you considered becoming a volunteer, then you would be doing a good thing.
Right. Would do well to is often used when you give somebody advice. For example, a friend of mine wants to quit his job. He hates his boss. He hates the job, and he just wants to quit and not come into work tomorrow. But I told him, hey, you would do well to keep working there for another couple of weeks and turn in your notice so that when you do quit, you can still use that awful boss of yours as a reference, maybe when you're looking for a new job in the future. So indeed, you might want to consider volunteering. It might do you some good. You would do well to consider volunteering if you have time to do that. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's listen now to Hanny, our beloved Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分提到，在一份英国研究里，相较于没有从事志工活动的人，那些在前一年持续从事志工活动的参与者对他们的生活更满意。好，文中它用到 compared to 加上名词来表达，或者是我们也可以用 compared with 加名词去表达相较于怎么样，和什么比起来，跟什么相较之下。好，那这个用法它是独立分词片语，我们可以把它摆在句首，或者是接在主要子句的后面。举例来说， Matt is a diligent student compared to his classmates. 跟他的同学比起来， Matt 是个勤奋努力的学生。好，那这边顺便补充 compare A to B 的两种用法哦。第一种，我们可以用 compare A to B 来表达将 A 与 B 做比较，拿 A 跟 B 相比。这个用法呢，是把两者放在一起比较，找出它们的异同。其中这个 to 也可以换成 with。例如 Gina's parents used to compare her with her older sister all the time. Gina 的爸妈以前老是拿她跟姐姐做比较。那么第二个，我们可以用 compare A to B 来表达将 A 比作 B， 将 A 比喻为 B。这个用法是在强调两者之间相似的地方。那么 compare 在这边它有比拟、比喻的意思。特别注意这边的 to 就不能换成 with。例如 Life is often compared to a voyage. 人生常被比喻为一趟旅程。好，刚刚说持续从事志工活动，那文中是用到 consistently 来表达持续地，它是来自动词 consist。我们来学习它的字首字根。看到 SIST 这个字根，它可以表达站立、放置或者是处于某种状态。那么在 consist 这个字当中，它的字首 CON 表示一起， SIST 表示摆放，把所有东西都摆放在一起来构成整体。同学们就可以用这样的方式来联想 consist 它有组成构成的意思，那么整体就会有一致性嘛，所以我们在 consist 后面加上形容词字尾 ENT 变成 consistent 就表示一贯的一致的，然后再加上 ly 就会变成副词 consistently 用来表达一贯地持续地始终如一地。好，那顺便补充2个有相同字根的单字，第一个是 persist P-E-R-S-I-S-T 它的字首 P-E-R 表示完全地，那么 S-I-S-T 表示站立。如果从头到尾都完全站在那边，完全不动如山，屹立不摇，那就可以联想到 persist 它有坚持不懈持续存在的意思。那么第二个补充的是 insist 它的字首 I-N 表示在什么之上，那么 SIST 表示站立。同学们可以试着联想，当你站在某个立场上，采取那个立场而不让步，也许就可以去想到说 insist 它有坚持主张的意思。那么以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Volunteer. Jamie volunteers at a local medical center twice a month. Forge. The two police officers have forged a strong friendship over the years. Participant. The participants in the study were randomly assigned to different groups. Consistently. Stephen failed the course because he was consistently late to class. Satisfaction. Anthony gets a lot of satisfaction from playing the piano.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.